My name is Roxanne Ocampo, but my students call me Quetzal Mama. I am a college admissions expert, passionate about helping students understand the college admissions process.
I'm also a doctoral fellow at UC San Diego in the Department of Education Studies.
I also write many books on college admissions, which you can find at Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
I'm also a practitioner, and I coach thousands of students across the U.S.
Most importantly, I'm also a mom. I help my own children earn admission to their dream schools, including all of the Ivy Leagues.
Welcome to the Quetzal Mama College Admissions Community. This is our community to learn everything about the complex college admissions process, but in a very simple way. Welcome to the Quetzal Mama community. Today's lesson is called Los Huesos, which in Spanish means the bones, and this is the structural part of your personal statement. In today's lesson, we're going to look at the actual University of California personal statement prompt. We're going to look at prompt number 2, and that's for all incoming freshman applicants. Our goals today are twofold. Number 1, we're going to identify the questions within the prompt, and number 2, we're going to answer the prompt. In our next lesson, we're going to draft the actual 5-paragraph essay using this rubric of Los Huesos to write your personal statement for the University of California. Why are we using this strategy or rubric called Los Huesos? Number 1, this is really going to help you get started. The majority of students I work with are really anxious and they procrastinate because they really don't know where to begin. This is going to help get you started. Number 2, it's going to help you avoid some very, very common mistakes that lots of high school students make when they're crafting their personal statements. Lastly, this rubric has been tested with thousands of students, and each year students that use this method are getting accepted to top universities like Harvard, Stanford, Yale, UC Berkeley, UCLA, and many, many top universities. But most importantly, this rubric is going to help you avoid wasting lots of valuable time. You might be wondering, how could something as complex and sophisticated as the personal statement for college admissions be simplified? Well, in the brilliant words of Albert Einstein, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. For today's lesson, all you'll need is some lined paper and a pen or a pencil. So let's take a look at the actual University of California prompt number 2. Don't worry about memorizing this. I'm going to show you the same slide various times in today's lesson. But here is the actual prompt that all students, incoming freshman applicants, will be using. So using Los Huesos as a strategy, the very first step we're going to do is we're going to identify the questions in the prompt. It's very simple. You're just going to read the prompt and you're going to look through it to identify how many questions are in there. So how many do you see? Read this prompt and you'll see that there are 2 sentences, but many questions. Now, I've worked with this prompt for at least 5 years now. The UC system has continued to use the prompt, so I know that there are 3 questions here. The first question they're asking you is to tell them about a personal quality, talent, accomplishment, contribution, or experience that's important to you. And the critical part here is not to be confused. They're not asking you to address every one of these items. So they don't want you to say, here's the personal quality, here's the talent, here's the accomplishment, etc. It's an either or scenario. You're going to pick one of those. And it's going to be unique to you. Every student is different and there's no right or wrong answer. So that's the first question. The second question I see is, what about this quality or accomplishment makes you proud? And again, that's going to be unique to you, no right or wrong answer. And the last question is, how does it relate to the person you are? At this point in the lesson, you can do one of 2 things. You can either pause the video now and sit down and take time to reflect and critically analyze how you might respond to the questions within this prompt, or you can do like what a lot of my students do. They just create an example to use as a placeholder. So they'll pick a personal quality or a contribution, etc. Just as an example, they're not committed to it, and they're going to use that as a placeholder so they can walk through this exercise and get experience going through this. So you can pick one of those now at this point. We're now going to elaborate. So let's imagine we have this fictitious student and his name is Juan. Juan selected resilience as the personal quality that was important to him. So this becomes Juan's theme for his essay, and it's actually his thesis. Now Juan needs to answer the other two questions. Why does it make him proud? And how does it relate to the person he is? So Juan's draft of the huesos, or bones, might look like this. Number one, my personal quality is resilience. So he just answered the first part. Now he's going to answer the second part of the prompt. It makes me proud because X. Why does it make him proud? And the third question he answers is, how does it relate to the person I am? It relates to me because X. That's how he's going to respond using los huesos. Dun, dun, dun. Now I'm hoping that you're going to see something striking that just happened. I want to introduce you to the magic power of 3. And what I'm talking about is, for some reason, we humans have this preference for things in 3. So in a college interview, in a personal statement scenario, using a sales pitch, whatever context you're in, we humans like to have our answers in 3. More than 3 is going to be overwhelming. Less than 3 is not compelling enough. So in college essay writing, the reason why the magic power of 3 works is because number 1, it sounds definitive. Number 2, it conveys critical analysis. And number 3, it doesn't overwhelm the reader. Now, do you see what I just did there? I just used the magic power of 3 to explain the magic power of 3. Now that Juan has actually answered all of the 3 questions, he's now going to start to develop and expand upon each paragraph. He's really going to flesh out each of those. So starting with his first paragraph where he answers the first question, he's going to say that resilience is the personal quality he's most proud of. In the next paragraph, he's going to expand about why it makes him proud. So in this case, we're going to use the example that A, it made him proud because it helped sustain him in a very difficult course, which is AP Physics. And maybe he's going to talk about how he started in AP Physics and he wasn't doing that well, but he used his personal quality of resilience and that helped him to earn an A in AP Physics. He might also want to give an example that resilience was the quality that helped him to lead a national campaign for middle school students to engage in coding programs. So that would be very compelling for him to flesh out the number 2 answer. And his number 3 answer, how does it relate to the person he is? He's going to give an example. In this case, he might say, resilience relates to the person I am because it was instrumental in pushing me to learn new things. And Juan might say that resilience was the quality that helped him pursue computer science, and that may be the intended major he declares for the University of California. Now that you've seen how Juan was able to answer all 3 questions within the UC prompt, and he was able to start fleshing out and expanding and developing some of his paragraphs, which will be 3 paragraphs eventually for his personal statement, you can now go ahead and start doing that for yourself. So as a reminder, you're going to look at the prompt, you're going to answer the questions within the prompt, and you're just going to very succinctly start writing out your answers to each of those 3 questions. And it doesn't have to be fancy. You don't need a thesaurus. You just need to answer them in a very, very simple way using los huesos or the bones. That's the end of part one of Los Huesos. In the next lesson, you're going to learn how to add the very important, compelling introduction for your personal statement, and then add the final closing paragraph to your personal statement. So you will now have a draft 5-paragraph essay for prompt number 2 of the University of California.